Hello, hello, and welcome to my today's live. A little bit earlier than usually I'm usually online, but it's for a reason because I'm expecting today a guest, and hopefully everything is working. I do it the first time that we here he is. Hey, Isaac, perfect. So now I have to. Hopefully it's working. I do it the first time here, so I
Right.
have to wait.
Perfect.
It's working.
It's
It's
working. Exactly.
working. Wow.
How are you?
Very good. What about you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you. Lovely sunny morning today. And yeah, great. I had an early start to the day and I've got a busy rest of the day as well. So I thought, hey, why don't we take this opportunity and talk a bit about real estate and,
Amazing.
have a good chat about it.
Perfect. Perfect. So, what like jump directly into the topic. What's new on your side based on the real estate investments? I know you are for those maybe the people you don't know, like
Yeah.
you are focused in London and Germany, right, in Frankfurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's changing?
Okay, so two reasons. Okay, well, I always had this question in my mind as to who controls the market. Is it the buyers? Is it the sellers? Or what really, how does the price really drop? Because at the end, the sellers don't want to drop their prices. And surprisingly, I had a good seminar with the banking guys last week. And what they said was the market is entirely controlled by the banks who lend the loan to value ratio.
Yeah.
So as soon as they drop the loan to value ratio from, say, now the ongoing price before COVID-19 in the UK, they were offering 60%, 65% loan to value you could get. Now, post-COVID, now with the COVID situation, they've gone down to 50, 55. So we've seen a drop in 10%. So that was quite interesting. So then what happens is the land value also has to drop.
Yeah.
And nobody would be, otherwise the investor has to pay from his own pocket as equity. So this was quite interesting to learn, okay, how that works. And
I had the same experience because we have at the moment a quite interesting real estate offer in Mannheim.
yeah,
And there it's for commercial. So and we
okay,
ask as well for a financing and for a loan.
yeah,
And they gave us the same answer, especially for commercial. It's they don't give the 100% loan anymore.
okay,
You have to put some equity in,
okay,
at least 10%, even more.
okay,
So for Germany, it's unusual. Normally, that we normally get the 110%. So this is out of the game.
right.
At the moment, at least for commercial, for residential, I think it depends as well on your financial status and on your score.
So in terms of, say, residential, I also have another question for you, Jennifer. This was recently a property I was looking at. What's the difference in value between, say, a freehold property and the one that you lease for 99 years in Germany?
Like a freehold, what do you mean for like?
Freehold means you own the property outright; it's
Mhm.
yours. And then there's another one which is kind of like
Yeah,
in
I know.
the UK.
Okay,
You rent it for 99 years, but you
yeah,
pay the full
like
price when you
it's
buy.
in Germany, it's Erbpacht.
Eggpack, yeah,
Yeah,
Eggpack, yeah,
yeah. Well, the thing is that well, obviously, if you have only rent a ground, it's
yeah,
going the ground. You cannot you can buy the property, but you can rent the ground, right? And
yeah.
this makes and you have to ask for every change on this ground you're making. If you change, for example, the garden, or if you change the building itself, you have to have the permission from the confirmation from the owner.
Right. And the owner could be
Okay.
anybody, the city, or it could be the
It could be
church or whatever.
the city, they're private people, doesn't matter, because we had the case already in our network already.
Right.
And on the other side, it makes from the evaluation part, is if you look as an evaluator on this or appraiser on this thing, you have to, it's of course, it's decreasing the value because like this is the only thing what is not like a building gets older and older.
Yeah.
And this is affected with the tax as well. So the valuation of the building is decreasing over the years, right? Instead, you're doing anything. The ground is raising, but you never get the value of the ground because it not belongs to you.
Right.
So this is the difference basically.
Right. So you don't get the capital gain because the ground is still not yours. So okay. So any idea what the difference is? Say, for example, I'm paying 100 euros for a property, same location, same city, everything's the same, for a freehold. What would I pay for a similar property next door if it's the 99-year lease?
Well, I would say the difference is the ground price. So you have to. There is a specific valuation report, like how to evaluate this property.
Right.
So I would go into, to be honest, I had only once the case that I have to evaluate the leasing part. Right. So it's like years ago. So I would have to go into this paperwork again and to make the valuation. But basically, like on an investor's side, I would say, you know what, if I rent this ground, I would pay for the property. So I would focus on the property, and if you do the due diligence as well, you separate the ground from the property anyway. Yeah. So you are focused on the value on the property and not on the ground. Okay.
So let's talk about this as to buying price. You know, how to make buying offers. So traditional, because of the work that I do, is we calculate from the back. So we go from what's the GDV, okay, and then we say what's the cost to say refurbish the property, or what's the cost to build the property. Yeah. And then we say, okay, what's the legal fees? And then what are our margins and what's remaining? So that's the room, that's the area that you can negotiate. That's the price that you could go max, and that's the price you can go less. So is that a similar way that you guys make offers, or how do you make offers?
The same way. So we basically structure the deal from based on your exit strategy, to be honest. Like we have it, and we saw it like in the last weeks again. Yeah. We are in a deal right now, which we buy from two partners, and it's not a good harmony anymore. Let's say like this. And when we start evaluating or like do the due diligence, we have a lot of bad surprises for the owner, because they realize how bad they purchased. So in the purchase is the win. If you or the profit. If you don't know how you want to exit, you have no idea how to buy. Let's make an easy example. Yeah. If you buy a property for yourself, like a homeowner, which is not an investment, I want to point out. Okay. People, they are new in this industry. So this is not an investment. But you are willing to pay you are calculating from the rent price. You say, okay, I want to pay for rent. So if I have the same loan to the bank, I'm fine with this price. So you're calculating from the other side. That means as well, you pay way too much for this property, or you're willing to pay way too much for this property. If you want to rent it out again, you will not have the difference, because you make the win or the profit in the difference, obviously. Yes. So, and if you don't know that if you don't want to rent it out again, or like if you say, okay, it's in speculation, I can buy it, but I know in 10 years, this place will be like the double price. So I'm willing to pay now a little bit more because I want to live in. No, as a homeowner, you have a totally different perspective. Right. Then it's another exit strategy. As an investor, you would never calculate like this. No, you can't. Would say, okay, do you want to fix and flip, or you want to rent it out and buy and hold? So, and based on that, you make the calculation and see what's in your pocket, how much equity you want to put in. And obviously, if you don't have to use any equity, that's the perfect scenario.
That's the perfect deal, yeah, of course.
Then you can leverage like unlimited. But yeah, but this is how we do this, and how we expect it as well from our clients. What's our experience with them? How do you see?
Yeah, so I've looked at properties. I've never looked at fix and flip yet, because that's really, because I do that for my living. But as my personal investment side, if you look at it, one of the questions is, you know, what's the yield that you calculate when you want to, say, put an offer down? So, in say for example, tier one city, German cities, we know prices are high. So you're looking at a property and you say, okay, I would need, you know, you've got to pay your mortgage, you've got to keep some for maintaining the property. And then what's the yield that you pick to calculate? So say, for example, now I will pick a 5% yield, and I would know that's the max that I can offer on that property.
Yeah.
So that will be 20 basis. That'll be a multiple of 20. So I would say, okay, this is from the annual rent, I could pay a multiple of 20, and that's 5% yield. Off you go. I could make that happen. So in terms of you guys, is there a limit that you guys pick, like 5%, or you go more than that?
We checked really indirectly with what we pay to the banks, and at the end we see after the cost what is left. Like, do you have a positive cash flow or a negative cash flow?
Negative cash flow.
And then, well, if it's a negative cash flow, it depends how long you have this negative cash flow, and you can increase the rent like in the next years. Like a direct, of course, like the focus is have a positive cash flow. You don't want to pay for your property as an investor.
Right.
But if you can, if there is sometimes you have to work on this value, okay? So you need to create this value, and sometimes it's okay for a while to pay a little bit, create a value, and then you have a better cash flow. But it always depends as well, like how much is the cash flow and how many time you need to spend in this property or to invest in this property to get the money out of it. Like we have an apartment, it only makes like 50 euros per month, but it's a one room. I don't have to have anything to do with that. Like it's 50 euros per month for nothing, basically.
And it's cold, right?
It's cold. So it's like it's after costs. It's, of course, it's not a big deal. But I had to visit it once. It was rented out in less than an hour. I had nothing to do with that, and the tenant is great. So why should I not take this 50 euros for free, like passive?
That's not too bad.
Like,
still positive cash flow,
Still positive cash flow. So it's the balance between what you put in from your time, from your effort, and from your money, and what you get back. So we don't have this limit. We don't limit ourselves like this.
Oh, that's nice. Do you mind telling us where is that place?
Mannheim.
Mannheim. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And it's what, 20 square meters or?
A little bit more. I think 28, but don't.
28. Oh, that's so big.
I have no idea.
Oh, 28. That's so big. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Like, it was, sometimes you find these things, and it was included an agent as well. So we had to pay an agent as well. It was after all costs. We don't have to put any equity in, so it's unlimited. It's not our own money. So like it's this deal. It's our example deal for everybody. So it's working. You just have to get these deals to find these deals, and then it's
right. So say for example the strategy. So do you? I'm assuming you do a lot of buy to let. So when you do a lot of buy to let properties, do you go for the new build ones, or do you go for the old ones?
Not the new build ones.
Okay.
Because they're already too expensive.
Right. Now, because one of the challenges with the old properties is, when you rent them out, say if there is anything breaks, if there's a structural damage or anything, then you've got to pay for it. And sometimes it's not worth the money, is it?
Yeah, it is. And this is the same, like if you have like the most profitable properties are those you would never want to live in. And from the outside, they are super ugly. So you are shocked, but these are the money makers. If you go to the residential part, okay? So I'm not so familiar with the commercial part.
Right. The
But
resi part.
we are learning this more and more now, and we are getting more and more deals like this. But I'm familiar with the residential part, and when you see these properties, you are not happy. Yeah, it is not like, but you get at the end, you need to see if the tenant has a good score, and if he's paying you regularly, you don't have any problems with that. So,
okay.
What are you looking for, basically? You're asking me all the questions, like what are you looking for right now?
No, I was just checking, you know, the different side of the pond. So I never look at properties which are, let's say, old. So I only go for the new ones because I know my mortgage is for the next 10 or 15 years. So I know that for the next 10, 15 years, I don't have to worry about the property. Nothing will break. Everything will be spot on. So that's why I don't have to deal with that hassle. And then, because sometimes if the properties are like far away from you, and I'm living in Frankfurt, so if something's like way in Munich or somewhere, if something breaks, you've got to go there to know what's going on, or you'll have to leave it to a tenant to fix it. So those type of complications, that's why I said, okay, I'll go with the new ones. But I do know real values. I mean, if you go after old properties, you can get good values out. Provided you have the time to do the due diligence, you can do the structural survey, you know, okay, the building's stable, nothing will break, the plumbing's okay. Yeah, so that's where I meant, okay, are you guys doing it, and how do you do it? And is there a lot of due diligence process before you go for the acquisition?
It depends on the volume. Like, what is your investment volume? Are you looking for like whole buildings or like apartments? Like, to be honest, like a one-room apartment, I buy like a pair of shoes, more or less. Like, it's like you have it really. There's not a huge due diligence to do. Like, there's no paperwork there. So what you want to do, what you want to decide.
What to do.
But if you look for a building, I can understand you. But on the other side, if it's an apartment, I don't care where it is, because, and as well, if it's a building, if you have the right team in place, they look after the building for you, then you just need to have someone in this area you pay, and he is taking care of you. You don't have to handle this. Otherwise, you could never invest in other countries.
All right, interesting.
This is like you need to give up the control to a person you trust. This is a really tough thing, and as well as an entrepreneur, if you're building the teams, this is like one of the toughest things. Yeah, to let it go. Let it go.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And okay, so let's talk about finance. You know, so how do we finance properties? Now, I know I've also heard that in America, and said you could buy a property without putting any money in the game, like literally nothing. You just have to give your time to go and source the deal. Here in Germany, I do know that some banks give up to 90%, but they also want you to pay for the notary and for the agent, and they want you to pay the legal fees. So that's why they expect the acquisition of a property is usually 110% of the value. So they'll give you 90 or they'll give you 100, but they expect you to come with a 10%. And then, of course, we know when you leverage really high, your rate of interest is also high. You don't get a good deal. So, and you know that sometimes you end up paying interest for years without realizing you haven't paid the capital at all. So how would that structure work for example, from your experience? What have you been involved in?
You know, this is a really interesting part, because this is one of the things I really had to struggle, or I struggled with myself.
Yeah.
And I had many tough discussions with my husband, because he is he wants to leverage like the full things.
Yeah.
First thing, it's still possible that you get the 110%. So it's not a big deal. Basically, we handle this out for our clients with the banks all the time, like day in, day out. This is our daily business.
Right.
And this is still possible. You are right. You are not paying, like, basically, if you have a positive cash flow, you are just paying the down payment, what you monthly agreed with the bank. And of course, it's not that much. But Jan-Mark always says, and this is what I'm struggling with, I have never it's not my goal to make the whole down payment and to have my own money in this property. So his plan is always that the tenants anyway, like if they pay the rent, to pay the down payment with the rent from the
Yeah.
tenant, and
Okay.
not doing this like, because some people can sleep better if they put like the extra down payment, like you have 10% or 5%, you could put extra that you are done after 10 years.
Yeah.
Which is attractive as well. Then you can take this property as a security for the next loan.
Leverage it for the next one. Yes.
Yeah. So I would say it's how you can live with that. You know, like, and how is your portfolio planning and analysis? Do you need a property which is paid off that you can get a loan from this property and make it from the other side? For example, when we invest in Cyprus, it's really it's good to have this loan, or to have this equity in the apartment, because the cash flow stays in Cyprus then.
Right.
You know, and this is like, and you have already, like, as an investor, you want to diversify, and you want to diversify your money. You want to have the money everywhere, that you not like depend on one country.
Yeah.
So in this case, like, the money stays in Cyprus, and that's fine. And that's an easy thing. You don't have to transfer. The money stays in Cyprus. You just put like the equity into this property as much as you can. But on the other side, you always look for the positive cash flow. And from your, what is your goal? Like, you need to know what is your goal, what you want to achieve with your portfolio. Right. And on that, you need to make the decision. There is no right and wrong.
There's no right and wrong. Because it will depend on what is the rent you're getting, what's your yield, and what's the room that you've got to play with the bank as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because say, for example, your mortgage payments itself are 3%, and your rent, you're only making 1%. So, of course, you're losing money. Then you have to really bet on capital appreciation on the property, how it works. And so I've always figured out that if you put 30 to 40% equity into a deal, you've seen that you get the best mortgage rates from the bank. And also if it's like a green building. But my relationship with German banks have not been the great because of language barrier and figuring out what they want, what I want. So I end up going to the retail guys, and the retail guys are like, yeah, it's all good, but they're expensive. So they'll say, okay, we'll give you 1%, but provided you come up with so much of equity, you do this, X, Y, Z. But I have also seen properties and new build properties where you have certain conditions. If the building is a green building, you would get mortgages as low as 0.8%, 0.6% is available. And your equity does not have to be more than 20% of the deal. And that is really good, because if you just have that engine running where the rent pays the mortgage, and for the next 15 years, you don't have to look at the property, it runs by itself, that's great. So this is quite interesting to see how people build those strategies. And then you review them after 5 years or 10 years, has the valuation gone up? Can you sell it and go to another deal, or what you could do?
Yeah, it's like you always have to, of course, this is already in the valuation before, like, you know, what need to be done. And one thing as well, what I want to add to our discussion before is that, of course, if you have not your equity in, please make sure you have enough equity on the side if something happens to the property.
Yes.
So, you know, like, this is I would not say a risky game, but it's like you have just the savings not in the property. You have it separately, but it's not means that you can take this and buy shoes for the lady. Okay?
Yeah, I know you love
like,
your shoes.
As an investor, you have to have the money available as well, that something happens. If something happens, that you can fix that. Okay, and you have to have a plan for this equity you're not using, like how you create more money, because the money is in the property. You cannot create that much money like if you invest maybe in another thing, because there's so much more, like crypto trading.
I know,
like, you know,
loads of stuff ongoing at the minute.
Yeah. So but let me ask you, because of the new, I'm not a fan of buying new stuff, because I work for developers, and I think they are always overpriced.
Yeah, they are.
So why should I? And I learned from my first, I would call her mentor, basically. She was my first boss in the when it comes to real estate development for shopping centers.
Yeah.
And she gave me this this tip, like the profit is in the purchase. Like, if I buy already too high, where is my profit?
Right.
Like why you are, what is the thinking behind it? I really want to understand it. That's not a,
Yeah,
I'm not judging you. Just want
I
to
know.
understand where it is.
Yeah, so there is different strategies. So one of the strategies I always work out is capital appreciation of the property. I know now I'm paying more than 20% than the market value of the place. But what I would do is, even if I'm going to a B city or a C city, usually these new builds, I always look for deals which is very close to the city center, as close to the city center as possible, not outside. And then I would look at the economy. What is going on? Is there jobs? Is there, say, 5, 6 factories there catering to people? And then is there a small economy? And usually the rents in these areas are between 500 and 700 euros a month, right? Cold.
Yeah.
So I would say, where do I need to do the least amount of work? Like literally nothing. Once I put a tenant in, it's absolutely fantastic. It could be a pensioner as well. And then I would say, okay, I look at I put the value of the property down. I said, okay, it's a bit expensive, but then I know that in the next 5 years, I'm looking at a growth of, say, at least 30% from what I've paid down. So based on that, I calculate. So that's why it always has to be a tier 2 or a tier 3 city or a small village. It's fine, as long as there's a bit of economy and as close to the city center as possible, because that's where you would get the maximum capital appreciation of real estate. But as soon as you go outside, well, yeah, you've got problems, because in 5 years it could even go down if people are not there. So you need to know, and it's I wouldn't say it's a gamble, but it's kind of the economy. It's the economics. It works. In England as well, similar. Yeah, you go to Manchester, you go to Sheffield, you go to Leeds. You say, okay, you're doing a HMO, you're doing student accommodation. What are you doing? And you know that if you go outside of the cities, there's loads of deals available, but nobody would want to live there. The transport connections, there's hardly any transport or anything. And there, okay, these deals don't work. So okay, you're going for a new build. You're going for a new build only for this reason, particularly that you don't have any issues with the property. And one of the benefits in Germany I really love about new build properties is the green standards. So if you've got a green standard, you would get the KfW loan on top of your mortgage. So that is amazing. So when you're paying 1.6% as your normal mortgage, with KfW, it comes down, they pay 1% on top of that. So it comes down to 0.6%. So that's really exciting. So I said it's worth paying a bit more on a new property so that you get less work and it pays out well in the long run.
Okay, I see. So this is another strategy. You're not focusing directly on the cash flow. You are focusing on the capital growth at the end, because you want that the value of the property is increasing. And on the other side, with this, I would say, up to 20% more higher price of the market, you are buying basically your time, because you don't have to take care of it.
I don't have to take care of it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So this is another strategy, and you are willing to pay more to have more time and don't take care of that. And on the other side, you do your due diligence, that you speculate on the capital growth on this property. And that's another thing.
Yeah, and you also have prices from the last 10 years that you can pull up. You've got data, so you pull up the price from the last 10 years. And I was surprised with Germany. I've never seen a crazy crash in anywhere. I've never seen numbers go boom.
Let's see how this crisis is going to be for this.
Surprisingly, this crisis as well. I know sales have slowed down in Frankfurt, but I haven't seen prices crashing. Like, the usual price in Frankfurt City, everybody's buying and selling, is around about between 7,500 to 8,500 euros a square meter.
That's true.
And the asking price has still not gone down. You go to ImmoScout, it's still the same price out there. So you're wondering, okay, what's going on? Huh.
I'm really curious, because we never had a law like this that tenants could stop paying rent.
Yeah.
Because this is affecting directly the property owners. So and you cannot afford it, especially if you calculate with the bank directly that the rent is going through the bank directly, and you have to pay for half a year or a year. Doesn't matter. And I think this COVID-19 crisis is really special, because it affects so many, or the big retailers, they just stop paying rent. You never would expect that if you invest in a property, that something happened like this.
If the banks give you a mortgage holiday for 3 months, that's great. But they are not giving a mortgage holiday. I'm assuming they're expecting their mortgage also to be paid on time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it comes down from the top, and depending on what type of landlord you want to be and how it is. That's why I like this pensioner market. You know, people get paid pensions every month,
Yeah.
and they don't have to deal with jobs. So some people who get 1,200, 1,300 a month pension, they can pay 500 euros a month rent. There's no stress there.
Yeah.
So that is a fixed deal for the next 15 years till they move into an old age home. So that's okay. That's not too bad.
That's true.
But if you look into the student, especially the student market or the young professional market, you've got to be careful because you never know when they leave, what's going on. But also I've seen in major cities like tier one cities, when you have these short-term contracts for 1 year or 2 years, every time the tenant moves out, you can increase your rent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that works well, and especially the expat market. The expat market's awesome because
That's
I've heard, because you can charge warm rent, and the expats don't want to deal with German telecom contracts. They don't want to deal with Minova. They don't want to deal with power companies, internet companies. They just say, I'll pay you one rent, Mr. Landlord. Can you sort this out for me? Everything.
Yeah.
And that works well because you could actually take on all these contracts. And sometimes if you're a good landlord, you get exclusive deals with these companies.
Yeah.
Where you could pay less, and for all your properties, they provide these services.
Yeah.
And these are, I'm not saying the power company, mostly the internet companies and those guys. And then all your tenants can pay you warm rent. That's quite interesting. The only thing is if your properties are, let's say, old properties and you have to pay for heating and you're charging warm, that sometimes this could be a bit of a challenge, especially COVID-19 now. Everybody's at home. So the energy usage has gone up.
That's true too.
The energy usage has gone up. So landlords are like, okay, what do we do? Can we charge more rent or not? So it's really tough. So when you charge warm rents, you also need to know that.
Yeah, that's
And
really
also
have the full package. Yes, if you have it separately, of course, like you get this this calculation at the end
calculation.
of the, and then you have to pay it anyway. But this is a true thing, yeah. So
do you have experience with WEGs, Jennifer?
with what?
WEG, like creating a co-living, shared living scheme?
No, not yet.
No, and I'm really curious to know who's got the experience with that, because you know, if you're a landlord and you have a property and you make a WEG out of it and give it to say 10 people to live.
Yeah, I know people who do it in this because they have an apartment and they rent out room by room by itself, and of course you have like a higher rent at all because you're paying for the one room.
Yeah.
Service and yeah.
You offer a warm rent, you give a good service, but also you have high wear and tear of the property because there's more people using it.
Yeah.
And your bills are higher. So I'm always curious to know, is that a good scheme? Would that work? Would that not work? What's the opinion?
I think
get some opinion.
Or like, is it the fluctuation, like the fluctuation in German, but the frequency, how often people go in and out, is you have. It's not for passive investors, I would say.
No, it's active.
You're really active with that, and you want to deal with that. Like you, even like there's two opportunities. You have one main tenant who is taking care of it, and he is paying a little bit less, but he is taking care of the of getting new people in.
Yeah.
And well, taking care of it basically, and you get the rent. Or you take care by yourself of it, and then it's like a high frequency, because I think it's like, especially now with the COVID, like with this crisis, so many things change it, and it's hard to predict what happens and how we will live in future, and will be able to. I was yesterday the first time in a shopping center again because we wanted to take pictures for the passport, and everybody is wearing the mask, and I cannot imagine never again hugging friends when I see them. Like this, like for me, really strange, a strange feeling. So I'm really curious how this will work. So I'm happy that in Cyprus they are officially COVID-free, and I hope it stays like this. So they have life back because there is not COVID on this island. But,
so tell us a bit about Cyprus. What's ongoing? What's the real estate market like? What's the retirement market like? And what's the tax like? And what are the benefits of like making a base in Cyprus to do business in Europe?
Well, first of all, it's outside of Europe. This is one advantage. There's because they have a totally different tax system. I'm not a tax advisor. I have no idea how it all works in details. this is like with tax. We have our tax advisor in Cyprus and our lawyer. She has this experience with that. But what I do know is, especially, well, it's an island where you do the holiday. So you have the holiday home.
Rental market, holiday rental market.
Yes, exactly. But as well, they have a lot of universities, which actually nobody knows. They have really good universities on this island.
Okay.
And a lot of students, obviously. And they have, and Nicosia is like divided. It's like the main city who is divided between the Turkish part and the Greek part. And they have, for business people, a lot of need, because they have not this big hotels there, a lot of need with Airbnb. So this is one thing. What I really do like as an owner, but not as a tenant, is that you have to pay the rent up to 1 year up front, like 6 months to 12 months before.
Whoa.
Yeah. So this is tough, but on the other side, you have already the cash flow, which I like on the owner's side. As a tenant, I don't like that.
Is that like a deposit?
Yeah, you have the deposit as well.
Oh, you have the deposit on top of the rent?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is strange, but I like this part. I like that we are the first German ones who had the loan on Cyprus without being a Cypriot and without having a salary in Cyprus and a address. So this is possible as well. So we bought without our own equity in Cyprus, which is great. And so the tax thing, and you have everything on this island. You can go skiing, you can go, like, the lifestyle is totally, you have the beach, you have the mountains.
Right.
You have from the business apartments, from the long term until the short term, everything, you make your own deal. You can make it happen, like what you want. And if you have the short term, you have 18% ROI. Yeah. So, which is quite attractive as well, especially for Germans. Like, we don't have this ROI in Germany. And but if you're interested in that, we have end of June, we will do a webinar with our partner from Cyprus. So she will talk about the tax and how the legal stuff is going on in Cyprus, because there are a lot of, as well for the politician side, a lot of questions always, because it's divided and what's happening. But for me, North Cyprus, it's like Mallorca, like 30 years ago. Right. Because it's not, especially for me, when I heard the first time of Cyprus, I know there is an island called Cyprus, but I had no idea about it. And there, the most people are like this. So Malta is already too expensive, and Cyprus, people start going there, and South Cyprus is like 3 times more expensive than North Cyprus. Right. So, because in North Cyprus you pay with Turkish lira normally. Yeah. And well, difference from the currency already is really attractive. Right. But they pay as well, like the properties you have to pay with pound, like with English pound.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wow. So this is like they have euros, pounds, and Turkish lira. And they have the hotel casinos. So all the rich people going there from the Middle East, because they play in the casinos, because in Cyprus it's allowed. So it's really, really attractive for investors, because especially North Cyprus is developing a lot. And I'm sure in at least 30 years, it's like the south side. And if they open the borders, the prices will go up. So it's more in speculation as well on this part, to be honest.
Okay, it's a bit of speculation. And what would you do for business? I mean, you would be doing real estate there?
Oh, we will do our business like we do it now. So as well real estate, But this island is open for new business, like totally. If you have you have to have a partner which is Cypriot. But as soon as they have this, it's an amazing opportunity. Like day in and day out, doesn't matter. Like they have, for example, the delivery services for food. They have some, but not ready yet. Like if you see the streets, they are not really like, even the streets are not ready yet. Like you can, there's so many things. I love this original stuff on the one side, because it's not developed, but I love to see it developing and to be part of this development as well.
Oh, right. So, interesting.
This is really, it's really like, you need to see that, and you need to feel it at least for a few days And this is why
Right.
we provide the property tours there as well, because that you can see the island, that you can feel this this atmosphere, these opportunities. You have it like in 3 days. You have a feeling for this island.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I was checking out the couple of holiday businesses. I was curious to know from you. I also heard about an Australian guy who organizes tours in Croatia. He
Mhm.
only works 3 months a year, and he does. It's for young professionals to find an experience. He offers a 7-day tour in Croatia, and he charges everybody 1,500 euros for 7 days. And he makes 450,000 euros, out of which his net profit is 230,000 euros just working 3 months a year. Which was, oh, okay, this holiday business is not too bad. Okay, fair enough. But you have to manage it. You've got to be there. You've got to be actively involved because, you're doing daily lettings, aren't you,
Well,
of these properties?
but if you have properties there, they have everything. They have organized everything. Like if you
They
have
do it for you.
there, like the Airbnbs are like you go in a 5-star hotel. You can have everything, or
Hmm.
like you book the minimum package. But you can have you don't need to rent a car. You can take a driver because it's so cheap as well. It's really, it's another lifestyle, and you cannot. You have to see this. This is really like it's hard to explain if you don't like. I can explain it, of course, but you would not believe maybe like how
Okay.
easy it is,
Okay.
because there's the most important thing is that you have the right partners there, and they make it happen for you. For example, like we don't have an apartment right now, so we moved there in August.
Right.
I don't take care of the apartment. I just let my partner know. And because we have we bought an apartment for my mom there, which is not ready yet, unfortunately. But well, it was the COVID-19. Otherwise, it would be ready when we come. So,
Right.
which is great because it's a super good developer who took care of this, and they had enough buffer time. They wanted to complete this project 6 months before the date.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but COVID, of course, did a little bit in delay.
Yeah.
So, and she took care of this, and she has an idea where we will live, which is enough for me because I know she wants to control the things as well. So I can let my control because
Yeah.
on this island, she has everything under her control and make it happen for us. I have no idea how the apartment will look like yet. She makes it. And I just told her, we come there and we need this, and we want, if as soon as the other apartment is ready, we want to move there and we want to pay monthly. So if there's any chance, and she is trying that, and all the
Right.
people on this island say, okay, we are flexible, we find a solution. They are open to do business, and this is what I like. They're not like, okay, we go this way and no way else. Like
Okay.
they're trying
They're
to find.
flexible.
Yeah.
And what are the fees that these guys manage your properties for? Is it quite high, or any
10
idea?
to 20%. It depends on long term or
Depends.
short term,
Short term.
but only if you rent it out. If they rent it out, like
Yeah, of course.
not constantly, like only with the rent.
Only with the rent, right? So, and it's long-term rent or short-term daily lettings? What do they do?
But both. Like
Both. Okay.
you decide, and you can switch. You can switch your strategy in between as well. And
Okay.
there, like no contract is the same because you can negotiate basically everything.
Right. Okay. And then what are the ownership laws? Do you get to own 100% of your property? It's yours, and you could be an overseas buyer, no problem?
Yeah, there's no problem at all. There are some rules, of course, and some limits, but well, this would take now too much time to explain everything
Yeah.
because we
Okay.
need 3 days in Cyprus to explain everything like that.
Wow.
That you really have we have a super detailed structure how you buy that, how you can evaluate it for you, what is the pros and cons, and we really take care of our investors. So if we know what you want, we can show you, and we can show you the difference as well, that you can make a very well founded decision in a short amount of time, and you will have a partner if you want as well. So this is how we work. And but like it's hard to explain if you never was on this island, because even like a small example is that our friend says, well, you decide if you want to live mountainside or beachside, like in the mountain or on the beach. as well on the beach. But I had no idea they are totally different areas. And I thought on the mountainside there is no beach, but of course there's beach. But it's like you visit another country. Like it's super different.
Right.
And you have to see it and where you feel more comfortable, and you only have this feeling on this island.
Nice. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just like, we call it the Cyprus effect.
The Cyprus effect.
The Cyprus
awesome.
effect. If you go there, you feel very special, and the Cyprus effect always working.
Oh, fantastic.
So
great. So Jennifer, what do you think about our Instagram sessions? Is that something that we should do once a week? It could be interesting.
well, once a week is maybe a little bit too much, but
or we do it twice a month.
Great. Yeah, we could do it regularly. That's nice. I think we can decide. The audience decide as well. And
today I just wanted to see how it works. You know, can we talk properly? Can people come and go? So next time we can also call it like real estate talk show. And then put it on Instagram, and then we can ask people to tune in with the time and the schedule.
We get the first like here from Xenia. Okay, she likes it. Perfect.
We could run the real estate talk show. That would be cool.
Yeah, why not?
Interesting.
So then let's set up another appointment and schedule another live. And it was really fun. And thank you for your time, Isaac.
It was fun to talk to you as well.
It was his idea, I have to say. So it's great that we had time.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to do that on Instagram. It's like, okay, let's go live together, see what's going on.
It's a lot of fun. That's true.
Yeah.
So have a successful afternoon. I know you have a lot of things to do.
Yes, you too as well.
It's my lunchtime entertainment.
Have a successful afternoon. Have a great day. Have a great weekend as well.
Thank you, you too. And talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon as well.
Okay.
Bye, Jennifer.
Guys.